ॐ पृथिवी शान्ति अन्तरिक्षगं शान्ति दौ शान्तिर्दिशशान्तिरवान्तर दिशा शान्तिरग्निशान्तिर्वायुशान्तिरादित्यशान्तिश्चन्द्रमा शान्ति नक्षत्राणि शान्तिरापशान्तिरोषधयः शान्तिर्वनस्पतयः शान्ति गौ शान्तिरजा शान्तिरश्वशान्ति पुरुष शान्ति ब्रह्म शान्तिर्ब्राह्मण शान्ति शान्तिरेव शान्ति शान्तिर्मे अस्तु शान्तिः. May there be peace on earth and in the sky. May there be peace in the water and in all directions. May there be peace in the plants, in the trees, and in animals. May there be peace in the hearts of all beings. May there be peace in everyone and everything. Sarvetra sukhina santu, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, sarvastaratu durgani, sarvo bhadrani pashyatu. Sarva sadbuddhimapnotu, sarva sarvatra nandatu. May all be happy and healthy. May all see what is good, and may no one experience misery. May all overcome their obstacles and acquire good tendencies. May people everywhere find joy and fulfillment.
Good morning. I'll be reading a selection on worshiping in truth from a book, Hinduism and Christianity, by Swami Satpakashananda. Jesus Christ gave two distinct ideas for the true worshiper of the Lord, worshiping God in spirit and in truth. Worshiping God in spirit has particular references to God's nature. But what does Jesus Christ mean by worshiping God in truth? It apparently refers to the worshiper's inner attitude. Worshiping God in truth, not in falsehood, is worshiping with full faith, or with as much faith and devotion as you can command. You should worship God sincerely, in spite of all your limitations and drawbacks. The one test of sincerity is that you worship God for His sake alone. To worship God for some kind of personal gain, some transitory possession or pleasure here or the hereafter, is not worshiping God in sincerity. To pray to God for help in the time of distress, and then to forget Him when the calamity passes away, is not sincere worship either. One should worship God because He is the one source of all love, all joy, all freedom, all wisdom, all beauty, all strength. If you really understand this, you can never worship Him for anything. You should worship and respect everything else for Him. In Him is complete self-fulfillment. So why should you care for anything else? There is nothing higher than God. If you care for anything else, you should care for His sake, for the sake of reaching Him. You should not worship God for the sake of anything lower than He. It is said that a thief once lived close to a room where there was a great treasure. But guards were always stationed there, and the thief could not find any opportunity to enter the room. How restless he was, how anxious he was to enter the room and steal the treasure. Then one night he noticed that the guards had fallen asleep. How much more restless he became. Now he had to make an attempt to get the treasure. Similarly, if you feel there is one source of all joy, of all love, of all beauty, of all strength, if you believe this, how can you afford to sit idle and make no effort to reach it? We say God is the highest. He is all merciful. He can be reached. But at the same time, we cannot spare 15 minutes a day for His sake. That does not show that we are sincere. God has to be worshipped with sincerity. We should recognize Him as the highest and the best. We should also recognize our own shortcomings and see how we can make the most of our situation in life. There can be self-deception in faith, like anything else. We may say, I believe in God, but actually have no faith at all. One should make sincere efforts according to one's limitations. That's all. If a person sincerely utilizes his situation for the worship of the Lord, it can be said he is worshiping God in truth. The following story told by Sri Ramakrishna is about the value of such sincere belief. Once there was a great scholar who spent much time reading the scriptures and could quote many verses from them by memory. He was one of those persons who study religions and investigate into the nature of God for intellectual satisfaction. Now there was a milkmaid who used to supply milk to the pundit's house, for he had children to feed. But the milkmaid was very irregular in delivering the milk, often arriving quite late. So one day the pundit scolded her and asked her why she was so irregular, causing the children to suffer. You should come in the early morning and not be so late. What can I do? She replied. I have to cross a river on the way, and the ferryman is sometimes late. I don't always see the ferry boat ready at the bank, so what can I do? What do you mean? Said the pundit. In the name of the Lord, people cross the ocean that is this world. Can you not cross that river in His name? The unsophisticated mind of the milkmaid took the pundit's words literally. She thought, yes, it is true that human beings can cross the ocean of life with the name of the Lord. Why should I not be able to cross the river in His name? Later, the pundit noticed that the milkmaid was bringing the milk exactly at the same hour every day. So one day he met her to find out why. Well, formerly you were often late. How is it that you come so regularly now? "You told me that in the name of the Lord one can cross the river," said the milkmaid. "You mean you don't come by the ferry boat?" "No," replied the milkmaid, "I just walk over the water." "Really?" The pundit was astonished. "I must see that." So he followed the milkmaid to the river and watched in amazement as she walked over the water. Come on," she said, urging the pundit to follow. At first he did not dare to walk into the water. However, he began to think, all right, if she can do it, I can do it too. But as he followed the milkmaid, he pulled his clothes up around him. Noticing this, the milkmaid said, "Why do you pull your clothes up, sir? Have you no faith in the name of the Lord?" This is what happens. We talk about God, we talk about faith in God, and we think we have faith, but in actual practice, we don't. Jesus Christ said you should worship God with all sincerity, with as much faith as you can command, with as much devotion as you can command, and see that there is no self-deception. Such a good start undoubtedly means progress toward the supreme goal. If a person worships God with sincerity, accepting Him as the very goal, and knowing that this is the real mission of life, he naturally utilizes everything else for that supreme purpose. This means he lives the way to God. He develops a basic inner attitude. The worship of God is not fruitful until you develop such an attitude of devotion. As long as you live in the realm of forms and objects, you may meditate for hours, say prayers, or go regularly to church. But if there is not true devotion in your heart, if you do not accept God as the true goal of life and have that transformation of your inner nature, all your religious life is simply mental and physical exertion. Some persons say, well, my friend, religion is a private affair. What does that mean, private affair? Does it mean that religion is just a cloak you put on for the time being to enter church and become religious? And then when you leave, it is left behind? If devotion is a basic attitude of your life, how can you leave it behind? Real religion is not such a thing. If it is your basic attitude, it will include your public life as well as your private life. Sri Ramakrishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, "Whatever thou doest, whatever thou eatest, whatever thou offerest in sacrifice, whatever thou givest away, whatever austerity thou practicest, O son of Kunti, do that as an offering unto me." There is a strikingly similar verse in 1 Corinthians. "Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God." You must carry your religion through all of your activities, at home, at work, in your eating, in your drinking, in your sleeping, in your talking. If you can, it will be a real guiding force, the potent regulating principle of your life. Then you are worshiping God in truth. In the beginning, your devotion may be a kind of intellectual process. Yes, there is a God, and one must reach Him. Otherwise, there is no security anywhere. But from that calculation, you have to come to the natural inflow of devotion toward God. This natural devotion grows within a person as he continues his spiritual disciplines and maintains the right attitude. As you proceed in this way, your mind becomes more and more purified, and you will develop real longing for God. An illustration is often given of a magnet and a piece of iron. If the piece of iron is covered with too much dirt, the magnet cannot attract it. The iron does not feel the pull of the magnet. Similarly, as long as our minds are covered with all kinds of contrary thoughts and ideas, we do not feel the divine attraction. But when this dross and dirt is removed by mental, verbal, or physical forms of worship, we feel a deep longing for God. Just as we feel intense yearning for wealth or beauty or companionship, we can feel an intense yearning for God. From intellectual belief, you must progress to spontaneous love. When you worship God with that kind of deep longing, you have developed much further in the worship of God in truth. As our inner vision is clarified, we gradually perceive the truth in spiritual life. The truth is that I am God's, I belong to Him alone. You may sell yourself to the world or to this person or that person, but all such sales are false. You really belong to Him. Everyone belongs to Him, the Supreme Master, We are all his. So our fundamental duty in life is to pay homage to him, recognize him as the supreme master, and try to be one with him. This is the central truth of a religious life. If you want to worship God in truth, you should feel that he alone is your eternal father, eternal mother, eternal friend, eternal companion, eternal guide, eternal refuge, eternal home. He is your all in all. Where else is there anything that is dependable? Where else shall you seek refuge in this world? We are seeking security in the insecure all of our lives, but now you find God to be your eternal companion, and you realize that every other relationship is only temporary. God alone is eternal in the midst of the non-eternal. You do not have to ignore or neglect anything, but utilize everything for the sake of worshiping the Lord. Everything else in life should subserve this main objective. In this world, O Lord, in search of wealth, I have found thee the greatest treasure. In this world, O Lord, in search of a friend, I have found thee the most dependable one. In this world, O Lord, in search of someone to love, I have found thee the most lovable one. At thy feet is the culmination of all knowledge. At thy feet is the fulfillment of all desires. At thy feet is the consummation of all love. Where else but at thy blessed feet shall I seek refuge? Thou art my mother, thou art my father, thou art my friend, thou art my companion, thou art my knowledge, thou art my treasure, thou art my all in all. Thou art the soul of my soul. When you develop this attitude of self-surrender, instead of offering only a flower or a prayer, you will offer yourself completely at the feet of the Lord. When you reach this stage, in all sincerity, you will be worshiping God in truth. Thank you.
Hari Om. I'm going to be reading from two books. The first is a book called Ramakrishna and His Disciples by Christopher Isherwood. And the other is Swami Niklananda's book, Vivekananda Biography. And as we know, Swami Vivekananda's childhood name was Naren. From his childhood, Naren was composed of a supernormal faculty. This is how he described it in his later life. From the earliest times that I can remember, I used to see a marvelous point of light between my eyebrows as soon as I shut my eyes to go to sleep. And I used to watch its various changes with great attention. In order to watch it better, I'd kneel on a bed in the attitude a devotee takes while he prostrates before a shrine, his forehead touching the ground. That marvelous point of light would change colors and get bigger and bigger until it took the form of a ball. Finally, it would burst and cover my body from head to foot with white liquid light. As soon as that happened, I would lose outer consciousness and fall asleep. I used to believe that was the way everybody went to sleep. Then when I grew older and began to practice meditation, that point of light would appear to me as soon as I closed my eyes, and I'd concentrate upon it. At that time, I was practicing meditation with a few friends following the instructions of Devendranath Tagore. We told each other about the visions and experiences we had, and that was how I found out that none of them had ever seen that point of light or gone to sleep in that way. Naren was a natural leader among boys of his own age. He was temperamentally energetic, restless and aggressively independent, but cheerful, never sullen. He enjoyed sports, swimming, wrestling, boxing, and riding horseback. He loved music and could sing, dance, and play several musical instruments with outstanding skill. He organized a theatrical troupe, made models of gasworks and factories, learned to cook, taking up each new occupation or hobby with characteristic enthusiasm. He could absorb the contents of a school textbook at a single cursory reading. His teachers all found him exceptionally intelligent. As he matured, this intelligence became predominantly analytical and critical. Naren was a doubter, in no mean-spirited way, but as a man must be whose drive to understand life is really urgent. He had to doubt in order to know. He dared not take anything that was told him on trust. As a small boy, he climbed a tree whose owner pretended it was guarded by a ghost, just to prove to his playmates that the man was lying. When Naren was 15 years old, his father had to go to Raipur in the central provinces. Finding that his business would keep him there for some time, Vishwanath decided to have his family join him. In those days, there was no railway connection between the central provinces and Bengal, so they had to take part of the journey on bullock carts. For more than 2 weeks, they traversed dense forests full of wild animals, and this made a lasting impression upon Naren. To quote his own words, "What I saw and felt as we passed through that forest has always remained printed in my memory, and one day more than others. It was a day we skirted the lofty range of the Vindhya hills. The peaks on either side of the road rose very high into the sky. On the slopes, the trees and creepers were wonderfully beautiful, heavy with fruit and flowers. Birds of all colors were flying from grove to grove or swooping to the ground in search of food, and filling the gorge with sweet cries. Seeing all of this, I felt an extraordinary peace of mind. The slowly moving chain of bullock carts reached a place where 2 great rocks had come together in an embrace, like lovers, over the narrow forest trail. Looking around me attentively at the point where they met, I saw that there was a very deep cleft from the top to the bottom of the rock on one side of the trail, and that, inside the cleft, there hung an enormous honeycomb, the result of the bees' labor throughout many years. Filled with wonder, I thought about the kingdom of the bees, and how it began and how it had ended, and my mind became so deeply absorbed in the thought of the infinite power of God, ruler of the 3 worlds, that I lost all consciousness of my surroundings for some time. I don't know how long I lay in the bullock cart in that condition. When I regained external consciousness, I found that we had passed that place and were already far away. In the following year, 1879, Naren and his family returned to Calcutta. Shortly after this, he graduated from high school and entered the Presidency College of Calcutta. A year later, he joined the General Assembly's institution. His favorite subject was history. By this time, he was very widely read. He studied Western logic, Western philosophy, and the ancient and modern history of various European nations. His doubt was his passion. He longed to believe but could find no foundation for faith. Books could not satisfy him, or experiences God at second hand. He'd met Devendranath, now leader of the Adi Brahmo Samaj, and asked him, "Sir, have you seen God?" Devendranath was too honest to give the boy an insincere reassurance, and Naren was disappointed. But Devendranath told him, "You have the eyes of a yogi. You should practice meditation." Naren joined the Brahmo Samaj and persuaded his friend Rakhal to do likewise. Naren felt uplifted by the congregational prayers and the devotional singing of the Samaj, but he soon realized that he was not getting the only thing he wanted: direct spiritual experience. The principal of the General Assembly's institution was then Professor W. W. Hastie. One day in a literature class, Naren heard him lecturing on Wordsworth's The Excursion and the poet's nature mysticism. This led the professor to speak of those states of deep meditation in which outer consciousness is lost. He told his students that such states were only possible as a result of purity and concentration, and that they had anyways become extremely rare in modern times. I have known only one person, he added, who has achieved such meditation, and that is Ramakrishna of Dakshineshwar. You will understand it better if you visit this saint. When Ramakrishna was asked about Naren's first visit to Dakshineshwar, he said, Naren entered the room by the western door, the one that faces the Ganges. I noticed that he had no concern about his bodily appearance. His hair and his clothes were not tidy at all. He seemed altogether unattached, as if nothing external applied to him. His eyes showed that the greater part of his mind was turned inward all of the time. When I saw this, I marveled to myself, how is it possible that such a great spiritual aspirant can live in Calcutta, the home of the worldly minded? There was a mat spread out on the floor. I asked him to sit, and he sat down near the jar of Ganges water. A few of his friends were also with him that day. I saw that their nature was that of ordinary worldly people, just opposite of his. They were thinking only of their pleasure. Returned to the room, Naren asked the master, Sir, have you seen God? Without a moment's hesitation, the reply was given, yes. Yes, I have seen God. I have seen him. Yes, I have seen God. I see him as I see you here, only more clearly. Thank you.